how do you see the implementation, or maybe, as you talk about, potentially this is a transformation for some businesses, right? Some people may be quite in a sticky spot with some of this stuff, and they need to really mature it fast. Are there any kind of tips or advice you give to people who are about to embark on this journey that they maybe need to do in advance, or things they need to think about and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, and Mike has tons of experience doing this, is it's not big bang, right? You have to start at small chunks and build from there. But it's great to have a great vision, but build that vision slowly, and pick a starting point. Rome wasn't created in a day, and we've seen so many. One of the things we advertise on our website is this thing, the vision of this concept of failed CPQ, because most of our customers have tried this before and have failed massively, because they've tried to do this big bang solution, pull all these different systems together, and didn't really understand also the care and feeding that a system and program needs. Right? That's one of the big reasons why programs fail, is that you get the great initiative and momentum at the beginning, and then they say, oh, we're done. There's no concept of done when you have a SaaS implementation and your business model changes on a quarterly basis. It needs constant care and feeding and support, right? So you need to envision that at the very beginning and say, what chunk are we going to start with? In our world, a lot of organizations say pricing is so imperative. Our responsiveness needs to be there. We need to be able to beat our competitors and get a quote faster. So that's a logical place. But now, for example, a lot of our customers have already done that with us. They're saying, okay, what's the next evolution of our quote to cash process, servicePath? How can you help us get to this provisioning and enablement and ticketing, like the work we're talking about with our shared customers? So, start somewhere, but don't go big bang.
Yeah,
Mike?
Yeah, I'd agree from a ServiceNow perspective, having that support, ongoing support in place, keeping the governance of the foundational data going. I think it's key to take on some of the quite tricky to negotiate service levels. You mentioned having several hundred or thousands different service levels in the same organization. At some point, you've got to grasp that nettle and try and reduce it down to a more consistent, manageable approach. And there's no easy way of doing that, I don't think. But it's really, if you've done that, or once you've done that, rather, it really drives that ability to be agile going forward. And like you say, you can't do everything all at once. But if you start with different bits, different areas, product lines, SLAs, getting that consistent buy-in for at least all your customers going forward, having a smaller set of SLAs, then that really helps you on that journey.
Yeah, I'll add 4 quick bullet points for me. Number 1 is it starts from the top. You've got to have the right leadership in place that's bought into this journey that you're on. With that, you're going to shift back and forth. You're never going to achieve the outcome that you want to do. Number 2, as Daniel, you and Marcus both mentioned, which is the transformation has to have a roadmap. Big bang is, we believe it's just a recipe for failure. So define a roadmap of different milestones that you want to get to over an agreed period of time. Hit those milestones. When you hit them, the sense of reward is so important for the team. You move on to the next one, right? Smaller bite-sized things that you can deliver, execute on, and feel a sense of success, really. Number 3, don't forget the importance to standardize as you embark on that journey, because without a drive, whether or not it's process or data, products, you are going to hit some roadblocks as you're on. And then the last one, not to be taken as a plug, but we've seen this with our clients where they've engaged with technology partners that have a failed implementation, where they picked a platform that didn't understand the MSP, the service provider world. And that is a recipe for disaster. You're not in retail, you're not in manufacturing, you're not in insurance, you're an MSP, right? So find technology partners, find service partners, companies like FlyForm, that are going to help you understand, and they're going to have the experience and the domain knowledge to help lead you on that journey. As a former CTO in the MSP space, I learned that lesson painfully, right? I tried to take a round peg and put it into a square hole, and the big brands convinced me that it would work. Wrote off that investment. So 4 things as kind of takeaways to think about.
Yeah, I think they're great. And like yourselves, I think we the reason we picked up traction in the MSP space is because myself and Aaron, the co-founder, personally have worked in MSP background, and also a lot of our people have. And it's just a very it is a very unique space. It doesn't operate like any of our other verticals that we're in. So I think that's definitely a key consideration. And I tell you what this really reminds me of, though, is that CPQ feels to me right now like the kind of the CMDB of the 2020s that we need, because when CMDB, and I don't know if you know much about the CMDB implementations, but they notoriously fail, and people spend a load on them. They in the old, maybe last 5-10 years, they fail, they cost too much, they overrun, they don't produce the outputs that are expected. And we give this actual same advice that you're giving now to CMDB implementations now. It's not big bang anymore, guys. We don't go in and say we're going to get this all singing unicorn CMDB that do everything on day one. So what does day one look like? Like going to Daniel's point earlier, have a big vision. So this is still the vision over here, but day one looks like this. Here's your roadmap. And also, as you say, it's the underlying, we talk about this a lot, the underlying processes. So if you put a CMDB in and you don't have a config process underneath it to, okay, when we make a change, how does the CMDB get updated? Then the CMDB is no good on day 2, and you've wasted all that money. So very, very similar process. And going to the Rome point, what we used to tell people was Rome wasn't built in a day, but they did lay a brick every day. And the point we were making there was, you've got to be in every single day, putting that brick down and building that up and building that platform. So yeah, I think it's a nice fit and it's a good space. So